Paul Tough is the best-selling author of How Children Succeed, Grit, Curiosity, and the Hidden Power of Character. He is also the author of Whatever It Takes, Geoffrey Canada's Quest to Change Harlem and America. Mr. Tough is a contributing writer to the New York Times Magazine, where he often writes on education, parenting, and politics. His work has also appeared in The New Yorker and Slate, and on This American Life. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Paul Tough.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to Ashley for that introduction. I enjoyed our conversation very much as well. Nice to meet a teacher. And thank you to Roger. Thank you to everyone at the Lenfest Foundation for inviting me here and allowing me to be a part of Community Weekend. It's a real honor. It's an honor to get to meet all of you and hear a bit about what you're doing and to get a chance to talk to you a little bit about my own work as well. I hear that you're good at asking questions, so I'm looking forward to the fact that we'll have some time for Q&A after I speak, but I'm going to speak for half an hour or so about my book, How Children Succeed, and then I'll look forward to doing whatever I can to both answer your questions and also hear your thoughts. I'm interested, especially given what we're here to celebrate and to live out this weekend. I'm especially interested in your thoughts on how this connects to your own lives and your own educational careers. I see a lot of you have a copy of How Children Succeed. Those of you who have read it already know that as a reading experience, it's a collection of stories about people. But at its heart, it's really a book about an idea. And the idea that's at the center of the book is that the conventional wisdom that's governed our thinking about education and child development for the past couple of decades has been misguided. We've been emphasizing the wrong skills and abilities in our children, and we've been using the wrong strategies to develop those skills and abilities. And the name that I give in the book to this conventional wisdom is the cognitive hypothesis. And what I mean by that is this sense that I think a lot of us share, even if we don't always speak it out loud, that the one quality that matters most in a child's success is his or her IQ. That success is all about that narrow band of cognitive skills that get measured on standardized tests. And I think this idea is behind our national obsession with test scores. Even when we as individuals tell ourselves that they don't define us, as a nation we have invested these tests with a whole lot of importance. And I think we do that because we really believe on some deep level that they measure what matters. But the educators and the scientists who I wrote about in How Children Succeed have identified this very different set of skills that they say matter at least as much as IQ and quite possibly more so. The list includes things like grit, curiosity, conscientiousness, self-control, optimism. If you talk to an economist, they'll tell you that this is a list of non-cognitive skills. That's their term for it. Psychologists sometimes use the term personality traits. Neuroscientists talk about executive functions. And educators often talk about character strengths. When I started work on this book a few years ago, I set out to follow two paths at the same time. First of all, I spent a lot of time reporting on people who were working directly with children, trying to help them succeed. So that meant a lot of educators, but also mentors and pediatricians. And then I spent a lot of time reading the research in all of these fields, in developmental psychology, in economics, in neuroscience, trying to understand just what we knew about how children succeed. And something else happened just as I was starting my reporting that changed my perspective on these questions somewhat, which is that my wife and I had our first child. Our son Ellington is now 4. So I had a strange experience, especially in the first year or so of his life, that I would often be spending my mornings locked in my office at home, reading these dense neuroscience texts about the importance of early brain development. And then I'd be spending my afternoons, rolling around on the living room carpet with him and his stuffed animals. And I'd try not to let myself get too self-conscious about how what I was reading in the morning connected with what I was doing with him in the afternoon. But it was hard not to think of him as my little experimental subject. And the research that actually had the biggest impact on me as a parent, especially in those early years, all had to do with the biology of stress. As Lenfest scholars, you are deeply engaged in what I think is the most important question facing the country today. whether we as a nation can make our pool of college graduates more reflective of the diversity of the whole United States. These days, most graduates of elite colleges are pretty similar to one another. They mostly grew up in big cities and suburbs on the east or west coasts. They went to private schools or public schools in wealthy suburbs. Their parents often have a lot of money, often have advanced degrees, and usually do white-collar professional jobs. And I don't have anything against those people. They're a very important cohort, but they represent a narrow swath of the American fabric. The United States is a bigger and broader and more vibrant and interesting country than that small cohort represents. And so I think we need to find a way to shift the demographics of our college graduates and to change the dynamics of our national college experience. And making those changes is not going to be easy. This isn't simply a case of removing legal barriers. It's not just a case of spending more money. It's going to take some time to figure out the right solutions, and it's going to take some creative and innovative thinking to solve, which is why I think your generation is so important. My generation has already given your generation a whole lot of problems to solve: climate change, national debt, various global conflicts. But here's another one that we'll put on your plate. How do we make college an instrument of social mobility once again? Those of you who are still in college or who are heading off to college soon, I hope that question is something that you will take with you to campus. And for the rest of us, it's a question that I hope we can put at the center of our national conversation. Thank you very much.